Well,
Okay.
hello, and a very warm welcome back to the Andrew Eborn Show with me, Andrew Eborn, and my very good guest, Errol Musk. How are we doing, Errol?
I'm good, thank you. Good, thank
Excellent. And
you.
it's family
You?
time at Christmas. You've got all the family with you at the moment?
Yes, yes. I have a lot of family here at the moment, and it's rather wonderful because I have a big house, and normally it's just me waffling around alone most of the time, and now I've got people everywhere. So it's it takes some getting used to, you know, the mess everywhere. I mean,
Ah,
but that's
right.
okay.
Always interesting. We were talking last time about Elon's tremendous influence on the global stage and the positive influence he's having in America, saving money in
Yes,
this Department of Government Efficiency and so on and so forth. And this is even before Trump has come in. I wanted to look at some other places around the world. We had this terrible German Christmas market attack. Where five people were killed, including a 9-year-old child, over
that's
200
insane.
injured and 41 critically. I mean, absolutely appalling. The details are coming out all the time, but basically, a black BMW SUV drove 400 meters through a crowded Christmas market in Magdeburg, and the attack lasted approximately 3 minutes. There is a suspect who's a 50-year-old Saudi citizen residing in Germany since 2006. He worked as a doctor with apparently no known links to Islamic extremism, but all of this is being looked at the moment. Obviously, Elon's commented on this as well. What are your views?
I mean, I I would say it's so shocking that I never grew up with anything like that as a child myself. It was something we sort of associated with the Second World War or something like that. As a child, I mean, I don't know what is in the minds of these people that they should do something like that. I I blame the governments involved totally. I blame them. I blame the police forces. Um, they're asking for it a lot of the time, and in your case in England with the three little girls, I mean, it's hard to even mention, thing that the chap had, in fact, a long record of this, Islamic fundamentalism and stuff, and it's all coming out now, and the government's trying to hide it. So, you have to, on that basis, the government is complicit. So, with the crime, and so, yeah, no, what really worried me is that I saw the BBC response on that, and the chap from the minister of the this former government, said that we shouldn't jump to the conclusion that this bloke was trying to be a terrorist of any kind. He could have just had a bad day at work, or his wife or his girlfriend may have dumped him. There's no excuse to go and kill people or to do anything of the kind. And the other thing is that when people do things like this, as in China, which I don't really like. I've always been against. I was very involved in capital punishment in this country, very very first row type of person involved. Unfortunately, as an engineer, because I designed the facilities for that, for capital punishment. And the thing is that, but I would say that capital punishment is needed Chinese style. You do this in a week's time, you're in front of a firing squad. Not in 5 years' time or 25 years' time, and so on. And at the moment, the guy's probably being walking around lauded and praised for his bravery or something like that. I don't know what to say. It's just so odd.
I mean, it's
We in
absolutely
life
appalling. And,
we
and, and
all
as you
go
say,
through.
Errol, facts are coming out all the time. Apparently,
Yeah,
Saudi officials claim they issued 4 warnings about the suspect's extreme views, which were
yeah.
allegedly ignored by the German authorities. I
Well, that's
always say
terrible.
what we need
No,
to do
no.
is
Then
shine
the
more
German
light in less
authorities
heat.
are complicit. Then the victims sue the German authorities for money, for something. You can't, they can't get away with that. If they've been given a warning and they do nothing about it, they're complicit.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And I think the Germans also getting tired of their wishy-washy, sin soup type governments that they've got, and they want a decent government again. And so, you know, obviously they're trying to throw off the older, sort of times of the past that they're not, into sort of over-the-top governments. But it is time for them to have a proper government and, to stop this kind of nonsense. I don't think this is particular to Germany, this particular incident. I think it's happened in other places. And, and so, I hardly know what to say. I mean, I don't know what to say. It happens in America as well. And often it's not got, in America, it's often got nothing whatsoever to do with anything but some bloke who just had a chip on his shoulder or something sometimes. But in this case, if the police had the warning of this, obviously there's this mental, crippleness or some sort of crippled behavior in society. You see it when you see the lines of police that have trying to stop these riots in England recently. And in the days gone by, it took one policeman without anything, not even a baton, to walk into a crowd of people when I lived in England and say, "That's it, all of you, off you go." And everybody just said, "Yes, sir," and off they went, And we need to somehow find our feet again. I think, it has got a lot to do with the fact that these people can do these things and they don't get punished. They don't get punished.
Yeah.
And that, I think,
it is really concerning, the sort of rise in this. I mean, one of the things that's happened, and again, this causes outrage. There's always extreme of emotion. Elon's come out and said only the AfD can save Germany, and a lot of people have say that they're outraged by that suggestion because that they're classified as far right. What's your take on that?
Well, very often these people today are classified as far right. Or actually not. They're dead center. So, in Elon's case, I repeat again, I've said this before. Elon is nowhere near a so-called far-right person. He's a dead center person. He just easily jumped back into Democratness as he could into Republicanness. And that's what you should be. We should all be both, types of people. We should all be able to see both points of view, and we should all be somewhere in the center. I mean, obviously sometimes there are people with a really good point, and they want to stress it very strongly. I take like Martin Luther and all those sort of people in the past, and there's room for them. But generally speaking, most people are dead center. And these people that he talks about, that they talk about as far right in Germany, the chances are they dead center. They just want to see I would call it the common sense point.
And as you rightly say, Errol, it's a label people always slap on them. They dismiss everybody. They call them far right and work. It was the German Health Minister, Karl Lauterbach, who said that Elon's intervention ahead of the snap election was undignified and highly problematic. That's the words he used, saying he was guilty of election interference.
To hell with him, let him say what he wants. Who cares? I don't care. I mean, that was just his opinion. My opinion, on the other hand, was he's a loudmouth left-wing idiot. So, that's all there is to it. And probably half-wit, has never had a job in his life as well. Yeah. So I wouldn't really worry about him at all. No. I think one needs to start listening to, again, we come back to something we spoke about before, people who have a tech background, or rather a non-political type background. You need to start listening to these people when they say things that, like Elon has said, and these people who, as a result of being in the political world, find themselves somewhat on the other side of the circle. I found, for example, myself in politics, you go in to a meeting of 10 representatives and you have a very open mind about the issues that are going to be discussed. The issues start coming out, and you find yourself suddenly grouped with 4 other guys or 3 other men, and you're up against 6 other men or 5 other men, and you never had that in mind in the first place. And somehow, that's just the way things go. That's, some people think the white lines on the road should be 4-inch, and then other people think it should be 5-inch, and so on. And the reason it should be 5-inch so we can see it better, and the 4-inch people say, but yes, we will save paint, and so on. And so you find yourself, unfortunately, on one side or the other. So it's just life. That's life. And
Germany's snap election is set. Germany's snap election is set for February the 23rd, following the collapse of Olaf Scholz's coalition. The AfD at the moment is polling second. With Elon's support, they could well win it.
Yes, they will probably do very much better. And I was just going to say, Trump's victory and as he has done, and people said, how is he going to look over or govern over a divided America? My response was, what? He just reunited America. He just united America. What are you talking about? So the thing is that his influence and what people have seen, and immediately everything going better, and CEOs announcing investments that they were holding back on, and so forth since Trump has come in. The people, you have to be a bit of a halfwit not to see the advantages all of a sudden. And so the people in Europe, I said, after the American election in November, I said, this is going to spill over. It's going to spill over to England. It's going to spill over into all these countries. And they're going to say, wait a minute. We also want that. We also want that. We also want a new shake of the dice on this side. You know what I mean? And that brings me to Starmer. And I still maintain that Starmer won't see the end of February. And the backlash against Starmer is astronomical. It's so huge. The only place that's actually says anything good about Starmer is the BBC. And even they are having a hard time, because half the things they say are so muddled, you can't make out what they're saying. Yeah. And so, the Trump, victory and approach, and the idea that we need practicality in government and we need to trim government departments and so on, that's taking root everywhere.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, the issues are, it is the biggest issue of our time is immigration and so on and so forth, as well as the economy and so. And Elon's message, if you like, is applying to so many different countries around the world, which is why his influence is so powerful. I mean, he tweeted in the last few hours saying, "Look, X is the most trusted news platform now." And you mentioned about the UK. I mean, in 2012, Elon had just completed a business trip to London and Oxford, and he tweeted, "I just returned. I met with many interesting people," and he tweeted, "I really like Britain." That was in 2012.
Yes.
Fast forward to 2024, his views are a little different. He says, "Civil war is inevitable. Britain is going full Stalin, and the people of Britain have had enough of a tyrannical police state." Changing relationship. You say it's a lot to do with Starmer. What do you think the current situation is? Because they've just appointed this Peter Mandelson. Do you know him? He was one of the Tony Blair people. He's a heavyweight politician. Do you think the relationship might improve now that he's in his position?
Well, the things that the Starmer people have said about the Trump people is a bit heavy, I mean, you can't really say, I can't go about saying that, somebody like yourself is this, and this, and that, and this, and that, without expecting you, at least as another man, to find me in the street and grab me by my collars and lift me up and say, "I want to meet you behind the building," or something like that. And certainly in the past, it would be worse than that. So, no, I think they've got a really big problem, this Starmer crowd, when it comes to dealing with America. I don't think it's possible for them to have meetings. I don't think it's possible. They might try, but I don't see it happening. I just see terrible problems. And I think the more the Starmer crowd try, the worse it will get for them. Yeah. It's just going to get worse. And they can bring Peter Emanuel or whatever they want. It's going to get worse for them.
Yeah, I mean, so you think there's no hope at all? I mean, Lord Peter Mandelson, he's a prominent Labour figure. It's irrelevant now. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. No. Anybody, look, Britain, let me start by saying, Britain is our parent country. We in the outside world who come from the empire, let's say, that the remnants of the empire and so on, we were brought up to believe that God actually, lives in England and everything, and that the English, they have a very good reason for that, because the English always know best and they do the right thing, and we don't do the bad things that other people do. We just don't do it, and it's just common sense. I mean, what's wrong with you? Don't you realize we just don't do the bad things? And I honestly think there's a lot of truth in that, a hell of a lot of truth in that. And so having said that, today in America, a British politician like Peter Emanuel or whoever it is, these are Peter
Mandelson, yes,
feathers. These are feathers compared to when the Americans think of them. They don't think of them as anything at all. They're just thinking of nothing. And, you know, it's almost, you might say, gonad less, or, you know, without, they don't have any gonad. I mean, they're nothing, you know. So I wouldn't worry about that. No, I wouldn't worry about that. You know, our worry about English politicians is that, you know, Farage talks sense, but has he got the strength? Has he got the strength that he's prepared to sit in a prison cell? Has he got the strength that Trump showed to be brought up and shamed left, right, and center in courts and had his mugshot taken and all that sort of stuff? Has he got the strength to not buckle under something like that? And that's the thing, you know. And so England is, to a certain extent, short of, you know, really strong politician people, or people who could take the reins. And they're a bit short on that these days. You know, Gordon of Khartoum is gone, and, you know, Winston Churchill is gone. But we have that. England has all these people to look back on. You know, the blokes like Bomber Harris, and, you know, the blokes that we knew in the past who were no nonsense guys. You know what I mean? Who did the extraordinary things that were needed. Where are they now? They're not there anymore. You know, the women have taken over, which is not bad. And so maybe it's with them. But, you know, no. England is a wonderful place to us. Elon and my family, we loved going to England. We've rented castles in England to stay in. We've done all sorts of things in England. And, you know, for us, when Elon says England is what he likes, I mean, he means it, you know.
Yeah. Well, he did. He had very, I mean, in the last few weeks, last week, he met with Nigel Farage and also Nick Candy at Mar-a-Lago, and they apparently discussed the potential contribution, donation of 100 million, and that's the figure which is bandied around, or certainly some sort of support was taken. What do you make of Nigel Farage and the likelihood that Elon might turn around and actually throw some money at reform?
Well, you know, look, as I said, Nigel Farage says the right things. He says sensible things. And he has had to be a lone shark all this time. He's had to operate on his own a lot of the time. And he has slowly garnered support and so on. So we certainly, you know, he's certainly in the team as far as we are concerned. What I'm saying is, you know, my own feeling is we need somebody with a little bit more, you know, in my opinion, you know, strength or forthrightness, you know, which is only, you only see it in certain people. You don't often see it, you know. And at this stage in England, you do need somebody who says, "Look, you know, you can crucify me, but I'm not gonna stop." And you know, not people who need, look, just let me have another quick cigarette and then I'll tell you what I think. You know, it's not, you need strong people now. You know, you've got to stop the Starmer guy. I mean, what he's doing is I said the other day to people, it's a hardball. You know, he's treating you with hardball, and people are getting a hard time. He's not messing around, the Starmer guy. He's going for it, you know. And I think the people there, as I said the other day, are gobsmacked. They don't know what to do. They just don't know what to do, because what do you do when this is being done to you? And Starmer said, "Okay, you can say something if you like. I'll just throw you into a cell." And everybody said, "Oh, okay, well, you'll throw me into a cell." I've actually noticed when I've been interviewed on the mainstream channels in England, the people are very scared to, you know, I noticed with the interviewers to broach certain subjects, especially when it comes to illegal immigrants. They're terrified of broaching the subject and will quickly change the subject for fear of being closed down or being arrested when they leave the studio. Yes. So, yeah, it's a problem.
There's certainly, and we've spoken previously about freedom of speech, and you've very eloquently spoken about it on several episodes of the Andrew Eborn show, and we can talk about these things, and it's important, as long as we need a platform where people can speak without fear or favor and address these uncomfortable issues.
Well, yes, unfortunately, people go for the mainstream media because that's what they've been taught, and you know, in fact, it's improved a lot. People have started to realize now that, you know, the Times of London, which was always like this super bastion of, you know, the best, is not actually doing that anymore. They're not the best anymore. They might look the best, they might have the best looking newspaper, but they're not reporting things correctly anymore for some reason, which is hard to understand. And so people are starting to wake up to that. And these podcasts and various other television shows, programs are being watched. I mean, I was able to watch, because to a large extent, about 10 years ago, I wasn't particularly concerned. I had other things on my mind. It's been in the last 10 years that I've actually become aware of all these things. I've seen a television station called Newsmax start in America, be very, very small, incredibly small, 2,000 viewers or something. And now it's boasting that it has, on certain programs, better viewership than Fox. So that's interesting that they've done that.
Oh no,
I've seen
absolutely.
others like,
And online is the new frontline, as you and I have discussed
yes.
beforehand. And I think
And
it's worth
then I've
looking
seen
at
other
that.
shows like Something in America, News in America, or something that was also a fledgling TV show, just disappeared. They
Yeah.
just couldn't keep up
And certainly
what
a
was
lot of
needed.
people are becoming brands now, individuals becoming their own channels. They're using these
And
different
I know the
platforms.
Newsmax people got sued, and they had all sorts of trouble, and yet they sort of pushed their way through, and they've now made it. So that's what one has to look at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, absolutely. It's important, as I say, that voices do get out there, and there are platforms to enable people to do that. Now, before looking at reform, and they say obviously there was this wonderful photo which has been shared all over the place by Nigel and Nick Candy and various
Yeah.
others with this
Yeah.
Mar-a-Lago, a brilliant picture with a wonderful portrait of Donald Trump behind them and Elon in the middle. I loved all of
Yeah.
that. Conservative Shadow Minister and others, Andrew Griffith, and others at the Conservative side have urged Elon to take another look at the Tories before donating to Reform UK. Do you think Elon would meet with the leader of the
No.
Conservatives, Kemi Badenoch?
No. No. We're aware of the fact that the Tories are the Labour with a different jacket on. They're wearing just a different version of the same jacket that was bought at Woolworths. So the Labour have got the tawny one, and the Tories, the Tories have got the sort of bluey one or something like that. They're exactly the same. Everybody knows that. They're no good, no good. Sorry to say that.
So you're
They
saying it
were
would need
good,
to be
of
something
course.
completely different, is it, to either the
Yes, well, they had
Tories
their
or
time.
the
They
Labour
had their
side?
time. Just as the same as in America, the Republican Party today is no longer the Republican Party that it was a few years ago. It's a new party. They've thrown out. They all know if you try to be the Republican Party of 12 years ago and before, if you try that now in the Republican Party, you're going to be given a one-way ticket. You're not going to be involved in it. You're going to be shown the door. So the new Republic, you could call it almost the new Republican Party in America today. Trump is the Republican Party. So, a few years ago, it was somebody else. It was some, diehard who'd been there, for 50 years or something. But no, it's a new party. And so the same thing has happened in England. There was ultimately very little difference. People started to point out between Republican and Democrat decisions. And the same thing has happened in England. The Tories and the Labour are hardly distinguishable. So, you need a new party there. There's no question about that.
Yeah. Well, it's
And
interesting, and people
whether you
make the
call it the
point
Reform
that
Party or the New Republic, or the New
yeah,
Conservative Party, I don't know.
yeah, people make the point that the only way to beat Starmer is that basically if Reform and Conservatives get together. Do you think that's a viable
Yeah,
proposition?
no, not at all. No, not at all. And Starmer's whole approach, the things they're doing, I mean, it's untenable. It doesn't work in England. It's just not going to work. He's going to be out shortly, so I wouldn't even worry about Starmer. I think, although he's still there, it's a fait accompli. He's gone. He's not going to last. There has to be a new election, and people in England are saying, "Well, we don't do that." No, where's it written in stone? It's not written in stone that you can't have another election. Where's the stone? Show me.
Well, it's
And
interesting.
no, you can have another election.
You remember that last time we spoke about this, they had this petition, which you only needed 100,000 to say it may be debated in Parliament. They got
No,
over
2 million, 3
several
million.
million, a few
Yeah.
million. It is going to be debated in Parliament on January the 6th. We'll get you to comment on that. Unfortunately, Errol, whatever the votes, they've got enough votes to say it's not going to call another general election. But it's interesting. The voice of the people should be listened to. There's also been calls for new donation laws. The UK election
Yes.
watch watchdog about because of the threat, whether it's sort of real or not, that Elon might be donating, make a large donation for a party like Reform. What's your take on that, introducing new donation
Well,
laws?
obviously obviously this has just been brought up because of the potential that Reform might get money. There's no other reason why they brought it up. I mean, it's obviously it's 101 logic. So I think there is a certain sort of issue about having outside money come to a party or to elections in a country. I wouldn't like to be in my country or something, and somebody in America is funding my opponents or something like that. I think there is an argument against that. I do think so. On the other hand, there's no harm in Elon lending, just as the Americans did during World War II, lend money to England as they did. There's no harm in if Farage and the Reform Party need money and they don't have it, and they have a very good, they're very much needed to be there, then it's wrong that they shouldn't have money. They must get money if they need money. You can't deprive them on the basis, just like you can't deprive a good student to go and do his studies, to be able to do his masters or something, because he hasn't got the money. You have to somehow find the money for that. And so it's wrong that he doesn't have money. And even if it's a loan, then he can be a loan. And I can't see how the government can make any kind of rule against a loan. They can try the donation thing, but they can't make a rule against a loan. And I can give you a loan where I say this money is repayable over the next 1,000 years at 0.000001%. I can make all sorts of rules with first payment due 5 years from now or something like that. Yeah. And there's if he needs money, it can be loaned to him. And if they need money and that's their problem, then they must get the money. That's all.
Yeah, and they can always use the English companies and so on and so forth. There are different ways of doing things. I think the suggestion was that they were trying to limit based on the profits of the relevant entity. And that's the issue. It's democracy is democracy. It can't be bought. But obviously, it's not a foregone conclusion. But it's certainly going to be an interesting side. The other big pick, which has been announced, talking about the special relationship, is Mark Burnett, who was the producer and creator of The Apprentice and Shark Tank and so on and so forth. He's now been picked by Donald Trump. It's just been announced to be the UK envoy. And everybody says, I went along to this when I was in Cannes, they were talking about Mark Burnett. It basically helped form Donald Trump. He made him into this glorious character as a result of The Apprentice, which made him a superstar and made him many millions, in fact. Any views on his appointment?
Well, the first I've heard of it, but I think it's a good idea. It's a very good idea. I don't think it's going to make any changes. It's not going to change anything. But it's the more the UK is exposed to, a different type of person coming across than the old, somewhat bureaucratic representative of the past, the better. I mean, obviously it's better. I think the UK is slowly, I don't think he's obviously somebody like that, Sal, but the UK themselves, the people of the UK, you can see it with the energy with which they're talking on the different shows and podcasts and things. They're starting to wake up and say, wait a minute, we actually like England. We do actually like England, believe it or not. And so, I think things are going well. I think we'll see a lot of good things happening in the next 2 months in England. There's no doubt about it. And France and Germany.
Yeah. Well, Mark Burnett, he was born in Essex, born and raised in Essex, and he was a paratrooper before he moved to the US in 1982, and has a very, very famous as the television producer behind The Apprentice and Survivor and Shark Tank. So I think he's a good chap in terms of making sure it's that sort of special relationship. And I think from that point of view. Now, coming up to Christmas, how do you normally celebrate Christmas in the Musk household?
Family, all the family get together, and everybody's wonderful on the first day or so, and they all find everybody's allocated bedrooms and rooms and so on and so forth. Everybody's happy as can be. And then you get the second day when somebody comes and says, one of the women says, so-and-so said this and this about me. and then the other person, I'm sure they didn't, and so you devolve into the third day, where the family is now divided into two camps. I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. and then by the time that they all leave, they're all back on good terms again, and all loving each other and crying and everything. But of course, during the 4 days, it's a sort of you go through a sort of happiness and then a crisis, and then we all expect that. The men all expect it. The men. They all just say, "Oh, yeah."
And what do you do as a family? I mean, do you get the Monopoly boards out and play Monopoly? How do you celebrate Christmas?
Say that we were playing this game just now. It's called, I think it's Guess My Career or something, and you put a band on the head. They were all playing it earlier, and you have a card on top of your head. You draw it. You don't know what the card is, and then you put up. They know what you do, but you don't know what you do, and you have to guess what you do by them each taking a turn to imitate that type of job or show, what that sort of person does. And so, everybody's playing that. Monopoly, no, we haven't got one. I used to have one. I don't have that anymore. We have the backgammon out. So there's the odd family, two guys who show off because they know how to play backgammon. And then there's, what else? We have all sorts of games, pick up sticks and, whatever, anything to pass the time. And of course, to get from one big meal to another, so
we're surviving without fighting. And will Elon be joining you this year?
No. I actually don't know what Elon's doing. I know what Tosca's doing, I know what Kimball's doing, but I don't know what he's doing. And he's not married, so he's a single man, and so I'm not really sure. I hope he's all right. I hope he's all right. We haven't asked. I haven't checked, because I've got my own load here to deal with myself,
But Kimball and Tosca will come and join you, will they?
No, they're not coming, but I know what they're doing. So I know where they are, And because Kimball told me 2 weeks ago when I saw him, or 10 days ago. And so no, it's, it's a lot of the time these holidays are wonderful. It's also a case of sort of getting through them, if you know what I mean. You don't care what you get as a gift, but you're worried like blazes about whether you've got everybody the right gift, You don't even look at your gift when it comes. You just say, "Oh, thank you." And you might look at it 2 days later.
We spoke about gifts in previously, and you always say that the best gift is give somebody who's got everything is probably a book.
Well, yes, you try to. Well, people ask me what I want. I say socks or something. Just to make it easy for them. So it's not so expensive. But inevitably, they come with something very expensive, and then I haven't bought something very expensive. Then I have to go to them afterwards and say, "Look, I had in mind to get you this, now think of something." And then that's more expensive, Then, "Oh, really?" I said, "Yeah, I didn't want to buy it because I need you to come with me, or something like that,
Right.
Anything to get past it, And then,
of course, so difficult. It's so difficult for people trying to get gifts,
difficult.
and you get things. When growing up, then with the young family, because you had obviously a large family, you've got a young family now as well. I've seen some of your other younger children. But growing up with Elon and Kimball and Tosca, what would they do around Christmas time? What would a traditional Christmas be while they're growing up?
Important. Oh no, Christmas is super important. Elon is a very big gift and ritual type of guy. He loves it. For him, it's terribly important. And Kimball, a great entertainer. So we've always viewed Christmas very serious with us. I mean, I'm as you get older, kind of inclined to say, why don't we just not worry about anything this Christmas? It's very badly, that gets taken very badly. What are you joking? Yeah, I'm just joking,
But it's a tremendous pressure. It's a tremendous pressure on people. It's good for you to talk out about it. And what about New Year's Eve? Do you stay up and see the New Year in?
Yeah, obviously. Every year we do that. There's fireworks and all that sort of stuff. And we generally go to the place where it's all happening and sort of see the New Year. You've got to do something. I mean, you can't do nothing. You've got to do something.
Do you have a favorite memory of a New Year?
And then you hope, I don't make a big fuss. To me, the year's the year. It's nice. And it's also nice to know I made another year myself. I sort of think, But at the end of the day, again, it's a sort of ritual that can be unpleasant if you know what I mean. You've got to try and get through it. I remember going to New Year's Eve at Trafalgar Square with Elon, Kimball and Tosca once. And all the fighting erupted right where we were. You know, there's thousands of people there, and this big fight occurred right where we were, with all sorts of things being thrown, and they were throwing these thunder crashes or something around to make trouble, you know, and people being dragged off, and police vans and everything, you know, and you know, so it's like a thing, you know, and it's part of it, you know, it's part of it, you know, it's a very the good old days, you know, when things were really great, well, not great, I mean very calm, and you go to the country club in a tuxedo, you know, and your wife goes to long evening dress. In those days, you know, and it's a country club dance, and then you see the New Year's in with Old Lang Syne and all that sort of stuff, you know. Those days we don't seem to have much of that
Those are
anymore.
the sort of favorite. And do you make New Year's resolutions?
Well, I should, I suppose, but I haven't thought of that. No, I haven't thought of that. But I have so many resolutions that I have to make every day. You know, I've promised a book to a publisher that I've written, that I wrote. I promised a publisher in England by the end of November that he would get it, and it's now the end of November, and I haven't even touched on it in this
Yes.
time. You know, so you know, he sent me a WhatsApp yesterday saying, or a day to so ago, saying he doesn't like to be pressuring me, but you know, is there any way I could give him some feedback? You know, this kind of thing. So yeah, you know, I have enough resolutions to worry about.
Right. And
Yeah.
what finally then, Errol, what do you hope for 2025?
Well, I think 2025 is going to be a very much better year than this year has been in many ways, and this year has been quite good. So I think we're looking forward to quite a good year, because things are you know, a lot of things that were not going well are now improving. There's no doubt about it, and so we can all look forward to a few nice things. We can look forward to an end of the Ukraine war almost immediately. We can look forward to a settlement in the Middle East almost immediately. I was on Egypt television and they were talking about it, and I was on other interviews, and they are talking about things being much. This was when I was in Dubai in the Middle East and so on. They were talking about things are going to be much better in the Middle East now, and the people themselves, you know, talking to me, and you know, I have to agree with that. And I say, yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be much better now. Everybody's much happier. It's as though some, you know, heavy weight has been lifted off people.
I think you're absolutely right, and let's hope that 2025 brings at least some sort of peace around the world. It's very good. It's been an absolute delight having you on the show so frequently during 2024. Really appreciate your brilliant wisdom,
My
great
pleasure.
feedback from around the world. Looking forward to more of that in 2025 and beyond. But for now, Errol Moss, thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank
Take
you.
care.